Are pets called pets because we pet them?
Are guinea pigs even from Guinea?
And do you know your turtle from your tortoise?
Sit and stay because we're cuddling up with cats, dogs, and snakes and famous hogs as we ferret out the etymology of pets on this episode of Words Unravelled.
Welcome to another Words Unravelled. I'm Rob Watts from the YouTube channel Rob Words.
And I'm Jess, author of the etymology book, Useless Etymology, and today we are talking about our animal companions. We're talking about pets, our furry, feathery, scaly friends.
Yeah, they give us so much. It's time we gave them a bit of attention here on Words Unravelled. So where do we start? Well, it seems like we've got to start with the origin of the word pet, a word that has a lot of meanings.
Yeah, somebody prompted all of TikTok with this question not too long ago, and I made a response that did pretty well. And the question was, do we call pets pets because we pet them, or do we pet pets because they're called pets? Which is a good point. And it's also a little different your side of the pond, correct?
Yeah, we don't really talk about petting pets. You stroke a pet. If there's a sign at a swimming pool that says no heavy petting, which there used to be a lot of the time, it meant no snogging, right? No amorous clenches in the pool. So to go to a petting zoo, I don't want to go around petting animals. I don't know. Their breath is probably not ideal. Anyway, I think it's fair to say that your very informative video, pointed out that the word pet for an animal comes before the petting of the animal, right?
That's right. And it's a term of endearment, right? For in every case, as far as the noun goes.
Well, yeah, but actually it starts off with a much more literal meaning that matches what we primarily think of a pet as being. It actually comes from Scottish Gaelic. I mean, we don't have a lot of words in English from Scottish Gaelic. You've got words like whiskey, but they're also very similar words in Irish, and it's the same in this case. So it's hard to say whether it came from Scottish Gaelic or from Irish, but it came from a word that meant a domesticated animal. An animal
all right.
in your home. Yeah, exactly. The reason I say Scottish Gaelic instead of Irish in this instance is because the word seems to first enter English in Scotland, where it is used to mean a domesticated animal. But in almost all of the earliest censos, so in the 16th and 17th centuries, it refers to one animal specifically, a lamb.
Oh, excellent.
Yes. The first
Beautiful.
Pets were lambs. In fact, you don't have to look deeply into the archives to find this evidence, because if you look in Samuel Johnson's famous dictionary, a real favourite of the podcast, which he wrote in 1755, published in 1755, wrote over ages, he has an entry for pet, and it is a lamb taken into the house and brought up by hand, or a cayed lamb. Now, have you ever heard that word cayed before?
No, I don't think so.
I hadn't either. I had to look it up. And a cayed animal is an animal that's basically been abandoned by its mum. So a parent has had to take it on. And so you'll actually find the word pet and cayed used almost interchangeably in reference to lambs in a lot of situations, because it literally meant an animal that had been brought inside so that you could rear it, you could look after it to begin. And then all the other senses of pet flow from that. So if you have a pet thing, which is your favorite thing, it is really just like your pet is your favorite animal, and it sort of comes from that. A pet peeve is an ironic use, I suppose, of the word meaning favorite. So that you say it's your pet peeve, it's to say it's my absolute favorite worst thing.
At that point, we had also established pet names as sort of a sweet little diminutive for the person you like a lot.
So I'm guessing that what I think of as an Americanism, the verb to pet, is just, that's what you do to a pet. So therefore, we're going to treat animals at a petting zoo like a pet.
That's exactly it. And it's quite a bit later. It's 1600s is the first time we get petting as like stroking.
And then there was also a meaning of a pet as being sort of a stroppy child. Stroppy, is that a dialectic word?
Like
a badly behaved
child.
one. Well, okay. Here's a good quotation from 1788. Pet, a child spoilt by improper indulgence. Yeah. So, I mean, much like you might mollycoddle an animal as a pet, a mollycoddled child would also be a pet, therefore.
Implies also favoritism for that child, right?
That too, very good point. Yeah, like a teacher's pet. So, I mean, pet, wow, multifarious, 3 letters and still so versatile.
Another versatile example of a pet that's also 3 letters and has a little mystery to it is many of the world's most common pet. I don't know, maybe cats are more common. But
Yeah.
dog is what I was going for.
Also 3 letters. Yeah, dog. We've talked about dog before. Something that I think I'm the only person who refers to it as this, the dog mystery, which is that we don't know where the word dog comes from, but this could also be called the frog, the hog, the pig, the stag mystery, because English has all of these words meaning animals that end with this g sound, and then that in Old English had a double G in them, but we've shed that second G, that do not fit with the rules of our language or our sister languages, German, Dutch, etc. Let me just read to you how the OED transparently explains this. It says, of the word dog, the word belongs to a set of words of uncertain or phonologically problematic etymology with a stem final geminated G in Old English, which is not due to West Germanic consonant gemination and therefore does not undergo assimilation. So I hope that has explained it to you. Long and short of it, we don't know where it comes from, the word dog, which is weird, right?
Yeah,
and you can look
weird.
at lots of other languages that have a word like dog in them. French has dog, which is D-O-G-G. No, D-O-G-U-E, isn't it?
But
the
other from Germanic, English.
They're just all from English. And they usually refer to some sort of mastiff. And, you could conclude from that, so the original dog was a mastiff. When we should, we're calling all dogs hounds, but mastiffs were called dogs. But it's not really very likely that it's that. It's that the type of dog that was most associated with Britain, or most often imported from Britain, was a mastiff. So that's why dogs in other languages tend to be mastiffs.
It's interesting that dog as a possible mastiff switched places with hound, in that hound became the more specific breed-centric term.
You make a really good point there, because that's the case with a lot of these words that I was talking about. These appear to have started off as like cute words, like a doggy, really, and a froggy, because the words that preceded them as the actual word for that animal. So you've got hound for dogs, you've got frosch for frogs, which would be very recognizable to speakers of, for example, German, or swine for a pig. They appear to have been diminutives, cutesy words that have become the generic words for these animals. But let's go from the generic to the very specific. Jess, tell us about some breeds.
Oh man, dog breeds are an exciting compendium of etymological joy. Some common ones, I think the cutest one might be corgi, which is dwarf dog in Welsh.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then dachshunds were bred to chase badgers out of their holes. So their name means badger hound, from the German Dachs. They used to be a little less short. Many of the traits we see in more distinctive looking dog breeds are more exaggerated as they've been bred into that shape. So dachshunds used to be, they've always been small in order to chase badgers.
Basically, if it doesn't look like a wolf, it's been bred to look like what it looks like, hasn't it?
Right. We mentioned mastiffs. The Old French maston meant great cur, but it's originally from a Latin word meaning tame or gentle.
And a cur is a dog, right?
Yes. Actually, one of my favorite word origins is the word feisty, which is from the Middle English phrase feasting cura, which means farting dog. And so the word feisty described originally vivacious little dogs, but apparently was transferred to via the sense of ladies blaming their farts on their lap dogs.
Oh no. You get the title farting dog.
Yeah, right. A cur is a 13th century term for a dog, and it's almost always been used for badly behaved ones or ill-bred ones or things like that. And it's supposedly from a root meaning growl or something along those lines. Let's see a couple others. The Shiba Inu, a Japanese one, is usually translated as little brushwood dog, maybe because of the landscape in which they were bred to hunt, maybe because they have that lovely golden coat. The Saluki is an ancient Sumerian word meaning plunge earth, supposedly because they launched off of the back of camels in the hunting process, which is kind of cool. Poodles are named after puddles, which is very cute. The original German was Pudelhund.
Oh, really? So they're just dogs. Why?
They're water dogs, or they were bred as water dogs. Their curly coats dry quickly.
Hold on, you have doggies. What sort of doggies do you have?
I have a large dog soup, which is a big. His name is Ranger.
I like that. Oh, Ranger.
He's lovely. You've met Ranger. He loves
I
your
have
baby.
met Ranger. He's an absolute darling, is Ranger.
He is.
But I was only with you a few weeks ago. But you've got a new addition.
Should I get it?
Yes.
All right. Well, okay. One second. I'll go get her.
100% yes.
Fable.
Who doesn't want to see a puppy?
She's very sleepy right now, so she's being really snuggly. Her name is Fable, and she is a mini American Shepherd, which is also the same thing many people call a mini Aussie or a mini Australian Shepherd, but they have been they're now recognized as their own breed.
Lovely. Unfortunately, not a breed with an interesting etymology.
Though it's a false one. Neither Australian Shepherds nor mini Aussies are Australian. So mini American Shepherd is true. But she's very cute and very sweet. And she is 12 weeks old.
I am starting to suspect that you suggested we cover pets for precisely this purpose.
I mean, if you have a puppy, you should always use the puppy on the internet. I'm just saying.
A puppy. Well, can I divert us to the word puppy? So it comes from the French poupée. People who speak French will know means doll, right? It's actually related to the word puppet and poppet as well, which is like a term of endearment. I don't know if you say that over in America, but just call someone your poppet. It's very sweet. Probably because little doggies were essentially playthings, like a doll, like a poupée. But the word ended up supplanting what we were calling baby dogs before, which was whelps, wasn't it?
Right.
And that's a term that you find in the Book of St. Albans, our favourite book of collective nouns, in which you have, what is it? It's a litter of whelps, isn't it?
Exactly, a litter of whelps. That was the first known instance of, as far as in writing goes, of puppies as a collective called a litter, which, much like all of those other collective nouns, it was meant to be kind of tongue-in-cheek or representative of their behavior, much like a sleuth of bears and a skulk of foxes.
A litter of whelpies, it's in there as. And we also have in there the kindle of kittens.
Oh, I love that one.
Are we ready to segue into that side of the cat versus dog argument?
Let's go feline here.
And kitten, by the way, probably just a variation on the French chaton, which means little cat. The word for cat in French is chat. It's basically cat with an H in it. In lots of European languages, you're talking Slavic languages, Gaelic languages, Celtic languages, Romance languages, Germanic languages, they all have words that are very similar for the cat. That would normally lead you to think that they share a common root, right? Some ancient common root. That's where we normally go with this, some Proto-Indo-European root. But actually what etymologists think is that probably isn't the case. And it's just that various languages have generated the word almost independently, perhaps from an imitative sound, relating to what a cat does. I'm not quite sure what the cat sound would be like. The way they sort of go like that sometimes. Like start calling them cat, but it's the same reason that lots of languages have a very similar word for meow. Right? Mm-hmm. When you're imitating a sound, you tend to write down something. It's not as though I don't know, the Russians borrowed the word meow from the English or something like that. It doesn't work like that. It's everyone thought, oh, sounds a bit like a meow sound, and you get a word like that.
Same with like puss or pss, as a sound to call a cat.
That is a perfect example. Yeah, exactly.
An interesting thing that happened in Latin with cat and the Latin equivalent of cat, catus, is that that's a late Latin word. And of course, the older Latin, the classical Latin word for a cat is felis, which gives us words like feline and things like that. The newer catus, I read a theory that a hypothesis that
by the way, on that theory hypothesis thing, I've just given up on that. I think it's okay to say theory. I know it's scientifically not correct to call it a theory, but I mean, everyone does, right?
We're descriptivists here.
Yes, we are, Jess. Don't correct yourself next time. We'll let it go.
Well, fine. What we think about the newer catus, is that it may have come from a North African word, and that's how it ended up in Latin.
And that also backs up the idea that there's no sort of common ancestor to all of these other languages having it. It's something else. It's imitative.
Because Nubian and Berber languages also have words that kind of look like that.
That is fascinating.
Cat breeds are, they're more regional, and most of the names are pretty obvious, like Persian and Siamese and stuff. And Tabby is too, but I like Tabby because it's neat. It's from Atabi, which is the name of a striped silk cloth produced in the Atabi district of Baghdad, because the tabby fabric was imported to England in particular. This wavy striped pattern became the name for that sort of wavy striped cat. And
the rest of, I mean, there are not really that many interesting, they basically, they put all the energy into naming dogs, right?
Right.
And the other thing that I think is interesting is that Old English had separate words for male and female cats, which I mean, it's kind of normal when you're a language with grammatical gender, which Old English was, but we currently aren't now. For example, in German now, so a cat is a Katze, but if you want to specifically talk about a tomcat, a male cat, call it a Kater, which is Kater, and also means a hangover.
Why?
I genuinely do not know, but it did lead me to then look up hair of the dog that bit you.
Yeah, I was going to say, it reminds me of that.
Yeah, which is interesting. So the earliest uses of that phrase, and it goes back, like really far. Let me just double check how far back we've got.
This like an early theorized rabies treatment.
So here's the surprising thing. Yes, you're right. An early theorized rabies treatment.
Right, because that does not work.
The earliest uses of the phrase the hair of the dog that bit you come from the 16th century and refer to drinking alcohol when you've got a hangover. They don't refer to actually treating someone for a dog bite, even though it is accepted. These references are interwoven with also references to treating a dog bite with the hair of the dog that bit you. They don't originate in that idea. So it seems like it might have been figurative to start with, if you understand what I mean. Like it is a notional cure for a dog bite, a bite from a mad dog, rather than, an actual cure. Oh, actually, let me just read you quite a cute, this is the phrase turning up in 1706, and it just made me smile because it's you come across some really terrible poetry. Don't think that in the past poets have always been good. They really haven't. So this is, we leapt out of bed with a strong appetitus to swallow a hair of the dog that had bit us.
That's cute.
Appetitus, not acceptable. That's from Rambling Fuddlecaps.
Well, that's appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were addressing one dog-related origin, but we have explored extensively dog and cat-related origins in one of our idiom episodes. So go check those out. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we've had to reiterate several times where cat out of the bag actually comes from.
Right. Oof, dark. By the way, you have a cat, and her name is Vasilisa, and she is from Ukraine, which is lovely.
Yeah, she came over in a sort of refugee van with a load of pets from Kiev, and Vasilisa was the name that she already had.
Wonderful. I have a large, fluffy cat named Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, who we just call Wolf.
This is highly, highly confusing that your cat is called Wolf.
I also have a fourth pet. It is a turtle. His name is Artichoke, and I've had him. He's my oldest pet. I've had him since I was 19. So he's like 17 years old or something like that. But he's a good fella. He'll live till probably 35. I think up to 50. He's a red-eared slider. Turtles and tortoises are kind of neat. Do you know the difference between a turtle and a tortoise?
I do know the difference, yes.
So for our listeners...
Yeah, turtles in the water, tortoise isn't. Legs and flippers.
Okay, all turtles, tortoises, and terrapins are turtles and belong to the turtle order Testudines, which comes from the Latin word testa, meaning shell. But for the most part, we use the word tortoise to refer to land-dwelling turtle species, while turtle can refer more to at least partially aquatic species. The etymology of these words makes this very confusing because before the 14th century in Old English, turtle was a word for what we now call a turtle dove. The word turtle was meant to sound like a turtle dove's cooing, only like
Yeah.
which we've also discussed before. Only in the 1600s did the word turtle become a word for the reptile, when the French tortue was misunderstood as sounding like the English turtle. And then before that, the English word for the reptiles was tortoise, and aquatic turtles were known as marine tortoises. So turtle is older in English than tortoise, but tortoise is an older word for a turtle than turtle. And the word tortoise is from the Middle English word tortoise, the spelling of which was influenced by the end of porpoise and comes from the Latin tortoise, meaning twisted after the shape of their feet, or it could be after Tartaros, which is the abyss below Hades.
So this is how I try to remember, or what I thought was, the difference, one being land and one being sea. I go, okay, tortoise sounds like porpoise, but that is not the one from the water.
Right.
it's like one of these reverse mnemonics.
It contorts the word porpoise by being on land.
Oh, this is tortuous, this contortion of tortoise and turtle.
Which are all related words. Everything we just said were related to the word tortoise. If it means twisted, if it is from the word twisted.
That actually explains something about everything you said to me there, which is that, in French, the word for turtle and tortoise is the same. It's tortue, either way.
The notion here, the twisted bit, or maybe the connection to Tartaros, could be that they were said to sometimes resemble monsters, probably like the snapping turtle varieties and things.
Oh, yeah, they can be pretty aggressive, pretty ragey.
I found a baby snapping turtle crossing the road one time, and it was very mad at me, but I did put it back in the pond where it came from.
Why did the snapping turtle cross the road?
Hopefully not to get smushed, just to be put back in the pond.
Oh, bless. Wasted journey.
Other reptiles?
Go ahead.
One of them is boa, which is very fun. It has a really interesting origin. It is probably related to the word bovine. Linnaeus uses the term boa constrictor in 1758, but it also appears in Pliny the Elder's Natural History. And he wrote that it was probably like a mythical beast here. He said they were 120 feet long. He said they could swallow children whole, and their primary source was milk sucked from a cow. So the idea is that it's related to bovine because they drank cow milk or potentially strangled and killed cows. And eventually the Latin word was applied to the South American snake because they do that wrapping thing.
Ah, okay. So it was originally the name of, like you say, one of these mythical bestiary animals, and then they found something that kind of behaved like it.
Pythons do the same thing, I think. Okay, I don't know that much about pythons. The one that I have met would wrap herself around you. I believe they are also constrictors.
Can you tell us about any more reptiles? Because I've got a whole string of rodents here ready to go.
Oh, well, okay. Let's go with rodents in a minute. But first we need the thing that eats them. I guess they don't eat them. The one I was going to mention next. It's gecko. And they're named after the fact that they make
a slur a gecko, Jess. Come on.
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't eat rodents. Sorry. Well, okay. I don't know enough about geckos. They might. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
They eat insects, though.
Yeah, they do. I know I remember my friend buying crickets for their gecko. I think that's the case. But it doesn't mean they wouldn't scoff a mouse given half a chance. I don't know. Slander a salamander.
Oh, no.
Give grief to a gecko.
Oh, that's funny. We'll get to that in a second. But geckos are named after their call. They make a lot of noise. And it's probably a Malay or Javanese take on their sound. The salamander, though, since some people do have salamanders, we talked about this one before. It means inside flame and is probably Persian in origin. And the idea here is this, okay, there are a couple factors. First of all, like in English heraldry, a salamander looked more like a dragon. So if you see a coat of arms bearing a salamander, it's probably looks more dragony. But both have been associated with fire, and it was thought that salamanders had like fire preventative slime on them. They don't, but they were found in rotting logs. And the myth maybe, is that if you were, say, to pick up a rotting log and put it on the fire, a salamander might crawl out. So the thought was that maybe they come from flame, or they're born inside flame. And we do see this in some sort of bestiary mythical accounts of them.
While I was in the States, I saw a type of salamander, an axolotl, adorable little fella.
Where did you see an axolotl?
In the aquarium in Boston.
Oh, neat.
They just brought one out. Hey, have a look at an axolotl. It was very cute.
They're very popular right now.
They're down with the influencers all over the axolotls.
They're cute. They've got little fronds. They look like they're smiling. They're pink. And there are cute little songs about them all over the internet right now.
Yeah, they look a little like people, don't they, with their little faces?
Yeah.
And the word axolotl, by the way, as so many words that end with tl, is an Aztec word. It's from Nahuatl. How do you pronounce that? Nahuatl?
I think you're as correct as I'm going to be. I've heard that you sometimes don't pronounce the L, sometimes you do. I think that was great.
Okay. Any more reptiles for us?
Nothing that I don't think we've covered before, because we've also talked about like chameleons, which means ground lion, right?
Oh yeah, that's good though, isn't it? You think, oh, it's got Leon at the end of it, but if we just sort of hit that a bit harder, we would know it more obviously. But
they're quadrupedal in the way that they stand up, but I feel like their eyes and the fact that they change color are the more distinctive features of the chameleon.
This is very true, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm like, that's a lion. No, that's a weird thing with telescoping eyes.
Yeah, it reminds me of how the French call a bat a chauve-souris, which means a bald mouse. No, it's a flying mouse. It's a flying mouse. Come on.
Right. Flitter mouse is way better.
Yeah, exactly.
For that one.
Little flutter mouse. Actually, bat. Oh, we've done all of this before, but bat, they mean the same thing as flutter.
Also, don't keep bats as pets.
Yeah. So they are rodents.
Hey, we made it around. There we go.
One that I found quite interesting was hamster, which I don't think strikes obviously as a German word, but it is. It's a word that we got from German. The old High German was hamustra, which in turn came from Russian chomestor, and that in turn is thought to have come from an Iranian language. So we're actually starting to be in the right part of the world for where hamsters live, around sort of Russia and the Middle East, etc. And a word in Avestan, for example, which is one of the Iranian languages, is hamestar, and it means one who tramples down.
Ooh.
Yeah, so which is almost certainly a reference to them being a bit of a pest, destroying crops or destroying stores of food. So that's what hamster does ultimately mean, one who tramples.
Is it true that in German the verb hamstern is derived from hamster and it means to hoard like a hamster?
German has this Hamsterkauf. So kauf means to shop, right? So Hamsterkauf is to shop like a hamster, which means to hoard. It's evoking the idea of, how hamsters store stuff up in their mouths. It's basically buying more than you need to save for later. The term came up a lot during the pandemic.
The collective noun for hamsters too is hoard, but not the hoarding, not the hiding hoarding, but the hoard as in the army, which connects back to what you said about them being like tramplers.
Yeah, that's it, right? Just, literal armies of them destroying your crop. Yeah, not great, but, you bring one inside, look after it, hopefully won't be overrun.
Do you know what the word for hamster, the term for hamster in English was before it was hamster?
No, I have no idea.
German rat.
Excellent. What was that? Do you have that literally what it was in English?
It was just German rat. It was just called German. They were called German rats.
Well, that leads me a bit onto another popular pet that is also a rodent, the guinea pig.
Yes, right? Which is neither guinea nor a pig.
Yeah. This is exactly it. Yeah, it's not a pig. I mean, it's probably called a pig because it's a little bit pig shaped and it makes kind of pig-like noises. But is it from Guinea? No.
Wrong continent.
Yeah, exactly. Although it might be that the guinea pig is named after the guinea hog, which is a pig that was thought to come from yeah, exactly, thought to come from Guinea, but also did not come from Guinea. So yeah, basically. So it's either a reference to the actual place in Africa, Guinea. But there's also this use of the word Guinea that was very common once to just mean sort of a faraway land, a generic faraway land. So it might be that a guinea pig is just like a pig of a faraway land where things are really small.
Yeah. On the slightly darker side, there were slave ships, also colloquially called Guinea men because the trade involved human trafficking to and from the Guinea coast in West Africa, and they also went over to South America. So things coming back from slave ships that were not slaves could also be things supposedly from Guinea, which lent itself to that, like, Guinea is something exotic from overseas.
Something else I found, though, is that a guinea fowl does come from Guinea. So there you go.
Hey, there we go. And that's what a turkey was originally. They called guinea fowls turkeys before the North American turkey was called that.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's a story
because they supposedly
told
came
often.
through. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It was at least the traders that sold them into Europe were Turkish. So yeah, that's why they called them that. Chinchilla. I looked up chinchilla. I thought, oh, that's going to have some very straightforward Spanish meaning. It doesn't. It's probably an indigenous Peruvian word from Aymara or Quechua, a couple of languages from the area, but it's been sort of transformed to look Spanish, like a Spanish diminutive with that illa at the end, a cute version. Another word, though, that is a diminutive, a genuine one, is gerbil, which surprised me.
Which is Arabic?
Ah, okay. Yes, it is. Well, not ultimately. You can go back a step further, and it's a Barbary word, but so it's a word that's been picked up in North Africa. But our word gerbil is from the Latin gerbilus, which is a diminutive, so like a mini gerbo in Latin, or in English, gerboa, which is an animal that some people will be aware of. It's a bit like a large gerbil. It's this sort of springy fella. So that's where it comes from. But yeah, this Barbary word, that yes, indeed, an Arabic word, also very similar to it, what certainly comes from it, meant the flesh of the loins. And I cannot for the life of me work out why.
No, I don't know.
I don't know where they were putting there. No, sorry, shut up, Rob. I won't try to come up with any. It may just be that the words are the same. You know what I mean? They're using the same word for this animal and and it matches perfectly with the phrase "the flesh of the loins." And they're never the twain have they met.
Maybe this is like a mouse thing. Like mussels are named after mice because they look like mice running under your skin. So I don't know. Flesh of the loins looks like you got a gerbil in your pants. Like.
Yeah, maybe, Jess. Maybe.
Different direction though, so I don't know. That's a stretch.
Ferret, by the way, speaking of animals in trousers, because famously a stereotype over in England is that in the north they like to put ferrets down their trousers. Indeed, they sort of make something of a sport of it. The word ferret ultimately means, seriously, just look it up. I don't want to go into it. It seems like a horrible way to get yourself bitten somewhere tender. But anyway, you'll see that there's a lot of southern stereotypes about northern English people that relates to ferrets. And indeed, where I'm from, which is pretty northern, they still to this day use ferrets to lay cables. They send them down. Down
so cool.
pipes, which is kind of amazing. But the word ferret ultimately comes from a word meaning a robber. So there are words very similar to it and from which it ultimately descends in other languages like Italian that mean robber. But we take it from the French, fuire, which I think is very, very close to the verb fuir in French, which means to run away, to flee. So I think those two meanings are probably linked in some way.
You know how we say like to ferret something out? It's easy to think that like you're being like a ferret, but people actually used them for hunting. So like to ferret something out meant to send your hunting ferret after it, really.
The primary reason that they were domesticated was to do that, wasn't it? It was to chase rabbits out of warrens and other animals out of their little holes.
That and the fur, they were big in the fur trade.
Oh yeah, lovely soft fur.
Oh, remember our collective noun for a ferret is? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's a business of ferrets.
Yeah, it is a business of ferrets.
I would love to have a T-shirt with that written on it, with like a picture of some like ferret businessman. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, and in pants too.
Yeah.
Turn the tables. Yeah, well, you could have one of those. They're in a shop.
yeah, it is. It's in our shop, isn't it? Yeah, go to. You'll find a link on our YouTube channel. You can find our shop in which we have all kinds of designs related to the business of ferrets, because it's just a term that we enjoy. I looked up some birds.
Yeah, let's do
You're
birds.
interested?
If we want other things that hide in your pants.
Wait, why are we putting everything in our trousers?
I don't know, but
who's putting birds in their trousers, Jess?
You are familiar with the term budgie smuggler?
Yes, I am. Now I know that as an Australian term, which leads me rather neatly into the etymology of budgerigar.
Right, which is not what we call them over here.
What? Yeah, I was going to ask that. You don't have budgies over there. What do you call them?
Some people call them that. They're called parakeets over here. And let's start with budgerigar and then come back to that because there's stuff there.
There is definitely stuff there. No, it's just that budgerigar comes from an Australian Aboriginal language. I've not been able to find anywhere any specifics about which one, but consistently the usual sources that tend to be correct on this sort of thing say that it comes from bujeri, meaning good, and gar, meaning a cockatoo. So it basically means a good bird, good parrot, good cockatoo. You can have a cockatoo you could only have one in a pair of budgie smugglers. Why is it gone? It's all gone wrong, Jess.
That was very funny. I mean, challenge accepted by someone, I'm sure.
So have you got parakeet? Because it is a good one, that.
Okay, so to get to parakeet, we have to go back to parrot, which is English says parrot because the Middle French perrot or perroquet was a diminutive of Pierre, which was sometimes used sort of epithetically for someone who talks a lot or talks in a clipped way.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was like an implication for the name.
Also possibly influenced by predecessors to parakeet, which could have been from the Italian peruchetto, which meant periwig, like a little wig, and the references to like a tuft of poofy feathers on their heads.
Right. So with that would link it to like peruke, right?
Right, exactly. The keet bit of parakeet was also taken to create the word lorikeet, which is a type of bird that was originally called a lorry, which is a Malay word for the bird. The keet bit in that case is a cranberry morpheme because it's just an evolution of the word cheto, or the element cheto from the Italian words that was made keet in English, and so lorikeet got the little same ending on it.
Can you explain cranberry morpheme to us?
It's funny, they often involved birds and berries. A cranberry morpheme, a good example, or the classic example of it, is the cran in cranberry. By itself, cran doesn't mean anything, except for the fact that it ultimately comes from the word crane, because the flowers on cranberry plants look like little crane heads. They're very cute. But you can't move that to another word and mean anything other than cranberry. You can make raspberry juice. Same deal with the rasp in raspberry is thought to not be related to the rasp as in your throat. So it also can't be moved. Things like the boysen in boysenberry and things like that. So a cranberry morpheme is a little morpheme that only belongs to its word and the concepts surrounding it.
Right. And a morpheme is just a unit of a word, basically. Yeah. I mean, it's a bit like a syllable, and it's not quite like a syllable, but it's basically like a syllable. Right.
Little word nerdy diversion there.
Yeah. But so parrot and parakeet, they're related words. They both potentially have some sort of link to people called Pierre.
Yes, evidently.
There's a parallel there, isn't there, with like Robin? I didn't realize that Robin is a diminutive, or was originally a diminutive of Robert, which is my name.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. So it's even more like parrot, because if parrot comes from Pierrot, this cute version of Peter, and then Robin comes from Robin, this cute version of Robert, then when you have these sort of parallel evolutions of words, I find that very satisfying.
Yeah. Magpie has mag, which is short for Margaret. Pie was the original word for a magpie, and then mag references their chattiness because mag was used as an epithet for a chatty woman. One more animal, or one more bird that a lot of people have, is the canary, which is a dog bird.
Yeah, this is silly. Yeah, it's vicariously a dog bird, though, right?
Right, because Canary Islands are from Canariae Insulae, which in Latin means island of dogs.
Yeah, so the bird is named after the island it came from. The island it came from is named after dogs.
Yes.
Canaries are named after dogs. Silly.
Speaking of parrots, people call parrots Polly because because it's a familiar human nickname. This is kind of a through line that we keep seeing, as well as one that references talkative birds and talkative women. Polly being a variant of Molly itself, or variation on Mary and a couple other things. But Andrew Jackson also helped make it popular because he had a gray parrot called Paul. Poll, who reportedly swore very loudly during his funeral.
Oh, so this is like Paulie, and then it becomes like Polly. Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of these like common names for animals, like you often see dogs called Fido in classic places. That means faithful or trustworthy.
Oh, like fidelity.
Another one is Rover, which, that makes sense. He roves, he adventures, but it was popularized in the 1905 British film Rescued by Rover, in which a dog named Rover heroically rescues a kidnapped baby.
Oh, okay. And that's just sort of sparks a fashion for calling dogs Rover. Your dog is called Ranger, but that kind of means the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, he is also like, he was very long-legged, and he is a nod to Aragorn in Lord of the Rings because he had a little white spot on his chest. He had these big long legs. Aragorn is called Longshanks as a nickname in the books as well.
Okay, Ranger Longshanks, like it.
Felix is a common name for cats, means happy or lucky, and it's mostly thanks to Felix the cat.
And also the fact that the Latin for cat is...
Oh, yes, also Felis, yeah. Absolutely.
Well. Yeah, it goes over. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some common names. Can I give you some household names and the names of their pets? By which I mean I've got some celebrities here and what their
Fabulous.
pets are. Did you know that Taylor Swift has got 3 cats? Or at least, okay, I got this from an article written in 2020, so I apologize if any of these animals hereafter listed have passed on. But she has 3 cats called Meredith Grey, Olivia Benson, and Benjamin Button.
Amazing.
I like animals that have got surnames. Miley Cyrus had a pet pig called Pig. Well done, her.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Justin Bieber very briefly had a capuchin monkey called Mally. Oh, I think it's pronounced Molly. It doesn't work in my accent. It's like Mall with a Y at the end of it. Named after the rapper Molly Mall or Molly Mall, who gave it to him. But it was almost immediately confiscated because he took it to Germany, didn't fill in the right paperwork, and then at Munich airport, they took it off him and said, fill in the paperwork, you've got a couple of months. He did not fill in the paperwork, and now that capuchin monkey is in a nature reserve in Denmark. So, yeah. George Clooney had a 300-pound, that's 130 kilogram, pot-bellied pig called Max.
Lots of pigs.
Yeah, people like pigs. Reese Witherspoon had 2 donkeys called Honky and Donkey. Vanilla Ice had a wallaroo, which is somewhere between a wallaby and a kangaroo in size, called Bucky. And Audrey Hepburn had a pet fawn called Pippin, which she used to sleep in her bed, which is awesome. And then a few more notable artists, just to bring us a bit more highbrow here. Lord Byron, famously, when he was studying at Trinity College, Cambridge, had a bear in his room.
I do vaguely remember this story.
I was reading about him taking it on the train and a passenger sitting opposite sort of tapping on the bear, thinking it was a person because it was snoring to get it to wake up, and getting quite the scare when he looked underneath the bear's hat.
that would give me a spook.
Yeah, but a newspaper from the time described the pair of them as remarkably partial to each other, which is really sweet. And people may or may not know that Salvador Dali had a pet ocelot called Babu. They may also be under the impression that he had a pet anteater, because that's a little fact about Salvador Dali you'll often see, because he did have various photo opportunities with an anteater, a giant anteater, walking through Paris, leaving the Paris metro, and he even went on television with this anteater, but it was not actually his pet. He borrowed it from the zoo for the day in an homage to his friend, André Breton, who was known as the anteater. And so, that's why that is. But with that, I am finished. That's my pet favorite, I think, Salvador Dali and his anteater.
Just one more here. My 3 favorite literary ones. How about that? Hodge is the cat of Samuel Johnson, who has a statue to him, as a matter of fact, but not because Johnson talked about him that much, but because one of his biographers did. Charles Dickens also had a raven called Grip, which you can read extensively about in his letters, because Grip was full of nonsense. He would steal money from the butcher next door, who also hated Charles Dickens. Grip inspired The Raven, the Poe poem. It's said, and the bird is taxidermied in Philadelphia. And then Emily Bronte's cat was named Nero, which seems appropriate for many cats.
Fiddling with yarn as Rome burned. I don't know.
Indeed, indeed.
All right, this has been fun, Jess. We all got to see your puppy, and we all got to talk about
Been
our lovely
sleeping behind me the whole time. She's
Bye
so
bye,
cute.
Fable. Fable, you've been
Bye.
fabulous.
Literally fabulous.
We'll see you next time on Words Unravelled.
See you next time.